are the financial opportunities and constraints? What are the educational programs that are currently providing workforce training? Again, what are the good programs that are already out there we can beg, borrow, and steal from? What are the skill sets that those students need? What kinds of certifications and licensures do you want to see? And what are the recommendations to help us as we try to shape the future energy workforce? And again, another chart. You're probably getting tired of me, but you can come and grab any of these and use them in your classroom. What are the critical skills that this group of individuals saw? And we could tie that back to our regional energy conversations. Where's the biggest growth areas in energy technician occupations? And what are the key changes that they see that are going to happen in the next 5 years that community colleges need to be aware of, that we need to be proactive rather than reactive to? Just a couple of the outcomes. Energy efficiency and the replacement of retiring workers are the biggest area of growth. So right now, that's where the jobs are. That's where we need to focus on. Analytical skills that are essential: math, science, mechanics, electronics, information technology. Not really new to you. These things, they said, need to begin at the middle school and the high school levels. For a lot of you, I'm sure, do the same thing as we do. We do a big focus on middle school students. That's when they start thinking about careers. How do we get them involved in thinking about STEM, thinking about energy, thinking about sustainability as jobs? Collaboration is necessary. Dual enrollment is important. Some of the other skills that they wanted, we always talk about soft skills: communication, problem solving, teamwork, social intelligence, integrity, salesmanship. I think this ties in a little bit with what Deb was saying before, that entrepreneurial piece. You have to be able to sell your program. You have to be able to sell what it is that you're doing and convince individuals of the importance of what you're doing. They want to see national certifications and credentials, core competencies, national standards are key. And one of the things that they really brought up, and I think it's important for community colleges as we have tight budgets to look at, is we already have a lot of those programs existing in our career technical areas. How many of us have electromechanical programs? Those are the core skills if you're going to be a wind turbine technician. There's a lot of programs that we have that you can tweak. And what they would like us to do is to make sure you've got that general core competencies, because God forbid that if that particular field dries up, they have a strong core, they can move into another job. So the best thing we can do for our students is make sure that we have that strong core that makes them more marketable and able to move. The other thing that they strongly said we need to do, and as community colleges I'm talking to the choir, is we really need to rebrand those career technical programs. It's not your father's manufacturing plant anymore. That we really need to show them the value and where this is a career and not simply a job. Again, jumping back to ATEC, I talked about some of the resources that we have. We have interactive maps. If you're interested in finding a program, come onto our job site. Whatever PV installation, where is that? Who can I talk to? What does their curriculum look like? If we don't know it, we know someone who does know it that we can get you in contact with so you can take a look at what's available. Again, the database is interactive maps for energy programs. And one thing, and I'm going to be shameless about this just because Roger brought it up, as he talked about water, that's really the next big thing. Like I said, we got into energy about 12 years ago. Because of our work in energy, and I think it was said today as the statistics, you get 1 barrel of oil, you have 6 barrels of water. That's really something that we see over the next couple decades is going to be huge, and that you need to be prepared for at your college. So again, we're not really unique, but if it works, we do it again and again. Last January, we did a defining conference in water management, the same type of format that we talked about. We've got the competencies all figured out, and now this next year, we'll be going and doing regional conversations to find out where are the jobs what's going on regionally, and again, making all this available for community colleges so they can utilize that to help better serve their local communities. I'll leave some of these reports up here if anybody wants these, but all of them are downloadable. So thank you very much.
See you, Brad. Have a good trip home. Well, welcome everybody. Looks like this is just about the home stretch here for this afternoon program. Oh, what happened here? Back up. My name is Ken Walls. I'm from Madison Area Tech College. I am just starting my 11th year at that school. For those of you guys that don't know, we're just north of here with the capital there, the state of Wisconsin. I am the director for the Consortium for Education in Renewable Energy Technology there. And I mentioned that because for those of you guys that are two-year colleges, we do some train-the-trainer activities for faculty members there. We do week-long training in biofuel and in solar electricity. Actually, Lisa is one of our alums from that program. So if anybody knows anybody working on a two-year campus or high school instructors in your area, interested in renewable energy technology, will be running a biofuels workshop in June and a PV workshop in July. Both of those will be in Colorado this summer. But I'm not really going to talk a whole lot about our consortium today. This is kind of a different conference for me to be to, because instead of talking to a room full of two-year colleges, we've got people here that work at four-year schools and national labs. And I thought it would be interesting just to talk about some opportunities for partnering with four-year universities and national labs, and maybe share a couple examples that we've been fortunate to work with at our school. So first of all, just a couple statistics that I think, unless you work at a two-year college, you might not be aware of these numbers. We educate about 13 million students each year, which represents just under half of all the undergraduate students in the U.S. If you look at bachelor's and master's graduates, 44% of them started out their education on a two-year campus, which means we really touch a lot of students. And that's students in science and engineering. Those are STEM degree holders. Almost 10% of PhD degree holders attended community college at some point. And if you take those statistics and then you look at either first-generation college students or any of the underrepresented minority students, the numbers are just tremendously high for how many of those come from the two-year college campuses. So what that really says to me is if we're working in STEM disciplines and we're looking at energy sciences and we're only focusing on the traditional high school, college preparatory students that show up at our four-year universities, we're missing out on a huge talent pool of folks. So how can our two-year campuses work with national laboratories and four-year schools? I'll share with you just a few ideas there. One of the things I've been lucky to work with on my campus is two-year to four-year transfer pathways with University of Wisconsin. About half of the students I teach in renewable energy and engineering are technicians like Rogers, where they do 2 years and then go out in the workforce. The other half of mine are going on to four-year degrees. We, in 2006, put together a transfer agreement with UW-Madison where if they do 2 years on our campus, maintain a minimum GPA, they're guaranteed admission into the College of Engineering at UW-Madison. And in many cases, they actually really like our students because they show up there with some hands-on skills that they wouldn't otherwise have if they came right out of high school. I actually have an adjunct appointment at the University of Wisconsin-Madison as well, so I teach engineering there once in a while. Where you get our students that were awesome in science, awesome in math, took AP Physics, AP Calculus, all this stuff, but they never had shop, right? And they show up in your engineering class and they don't know how to use tools, unless they grew up on a farm. The farm kids are the only ones that still get that experience because most high schools have replaced their auto shop and their machine shop with computer shop where they learn how to point and click on the screen. That's not true on the tech college campuses though. We still have the kind of hands-on experience. So that's been one thing we've been really lucky to work with the University of Wisconsin-Madison. We're now trying to take that model and branch out to some of the other four-year schools, UW Platteville and Milwaukee. We're hoping to anchor those in the next couple of years. There's a national network called CERTL, which is the Center for Integration of Research, Teaching, and Learning. This is the National Science Foundation Center. It includes research universities all over the country. UW-Madison is one of them, but it also included Stanford and some of the Ivy League schools, as well as some down in the SEC. And really the goal here was to develop better future faculty members. And you might wonder, what does that have to do with a two-year technical college? Well, one of the things when you're working with grad students is if they're really talented as a grad student, it probably means they never have to be a TA, because they immediately get put on a research project and they have funding and they're working on their dissertation, and then all of a sudden they get this newly minted degree, they get a job somewhere and they have to teach, and they've never been shown how to write an exam or how to make a grade book or how to assess students or any of that kind of stuff. And we were approached by the University of Wisconsin to ask if they could place some of their highly talented graduate students at the tech college to get them experience teaching in a diverse setting of learners. So we've been hosting interns at the teaching interns at our tech college for about 10 years now, actually. It's been a really interesting model, and now a number of the other schools that are part of the CERTL network are trying to replicate that process. UC Boulder just started doing that out in Colorado, sort of building off the Wisconsin model. Let's see what else we have. As part of the internships, they have a choice of either coming to the campus and doing strictly a teaching internship, or they can do an internship where they actually develop new instructional materials. So we had, for example, a student from the chemistry department at the University of Wisconsin came, developed a new fuel cell lab that they wanted to teach with our undergraduates at the technical college. We had a material science student that was working on biodiesel fuel. Her dissertation was on developing catalysts to make biodiesel. She actually came to the tech college and taught with our diesel tech students, the mechanics that work on the engines in our John Deere program, and started working with them on biodiesel fuel and some of the off-road vehicles, measuring tailpipe emissions and horsepower characteristics. I think it was a really interesting experience for both that grad student and for our technicians, because those are two groups that normally never communicate together. We also had a student from the College of Ag and Life Sciences that was working on an algae project, designing some troughs for cultivating algae for a biomass energy project. And that particular student came over and approached some of our fabrication students at the tech college because they needed some help building the trucks. They had this design that they'd drawn up on SolidWorks, but they needed somebody that could operate a grader and get the right slope out there at the farm, and then create an irrigation system and a dump bucket for harvesting all this algae. So again, it was a really nice combination of taking the engineering skills that the university was really good with, along with the sort of hands-on fabrication, and really where the rubber meets the road is where our two-year tech college students are involved in implementing some of those projects. A couple things about national laboratories. Since we're at a national laboratory, I figured this was good because not many people know about this program from two-year colleges, and I don't think many people know about it at the national labs either. But there is an internship program that's funded by the DOE called the CCI program, where they place community college students at the national labs doing research. The applications are due January 10th, 2014, and this actually covers all the national laboratory system. I'm told by the coordinator for this program that they usually don't have very many applicants, so you probably have a 50-50 shot being selected if you're from a two-year college appointment. I think that also means that the folks that work at the national labs probably need to do a better job of marketing themselves as hosts for this program if they aren't getting enough applicants. Maybe this is the first step by inviting some of us to two-year college instructors to conferences like these. There's another program at the National Laboratories called Faculty and Student Teams. I actually know about this because I was involved with one of these out at the National Renewable Energy Laboratory. This is a program where faculty apply with students, and it's a summer program. So it's a 10-week program. The faculty member, along with a student team of usually 2 or 3 students, is placed at the laboratory. They're given a budget to do research at the National Lab. One of the big limitations we have at the 2 campuses is we have literally 0 research capacity. We are strictly instructional institutions. So if we have undergraduate students that are interested in doing any kind of scientific research, we really have to go off campus to get that experience. And this is just one route that is available to people. Again, one that is, I'm told, has relatively few numbers of applicants. This was a program that I also participated in back about 6-7 years ago when I was getting started in my teaching career at Kristina College. The Department of Energy used to have a program called Academies Creating Teacher Scientists. I say used to have a program because this has been indefinitely suspended as part of the sequester. But this program places 2-year faculty members at the national labs during the summer. And it used to be a 3-year program. So they'd bring you out year 1, they'd place you in the lab doing research, and then you come back in years 2 and years 3 so you could really maintain and sustain research effort. We'll see what happens with the sequester. Maybe the funding will come back for that one. It's a really tremendous program if anybody has the opportunity to take advantage of it in the future. Several of the other speakers yesterday and today mentioned the SBIR and STTR programs. SBIR is Small Business Innovation Research, STTR is Small Business Tech Transfer Program. I've actually worked with both of those. For people at the 4-year schools, the STTR program is a little bit stronger partnership with the 4-year university, where you usually have a faculty member at the university working with the company on research. Whereas the SBIR is really primarily focused on the small company. What hardly anybody knows about is if you have one of these programs, there's supplemental awards available for community colleges to be involved in this. Once you have an SBIR or an STTR, you automatically qualify to apply for some supplemental awards. You can get supplementals for research experience for undergraduates. You can get supplemental awards for RETs, those are research experiences for teachers. And then there's also something called a Phase 2 CC, which is a Phase 2 community college supplemental award. All of those give money to the small business and the 4-year school to partner with either students or faculty members from the 2-year campuses. Which for the company is great because even $10,000 for an REU goes a really long way when you're talking about student labor. You get a lot of hours of work as a small business out of REUs. I can tell you, this is also, I think, of all the places that I've placed students of mine, these 2 companies, Solrail and Silotronics, are lithium-ion battery companies that were part of the SBIR and STTR program. And I'm pretty convinced that my students that worked on those got far richer experiences than any other of my undergraduates in any other internship that I've ever placed them at. Solrail works on making batteries that, lithium-ion batteries for high-temperature applications that can withstand fires and things like this. We saw Boeing airplane disaster. And Silotronics works on making electrolytes, specifically non-flammable electrolytes. The names you see over here are undergraduate students of mine who were either REU or Phase 2 CC employees. And the numbers represent what number of employee they were. So G, Miguel, and Luis were employees number 5, 6, and 7 at Solrail, and Dave and Luisa were employees number 3 and 4 at Silotronics. What's interesting about that is, they get hired as a lab technician, but it's not like being a lab technician at the university where they, maybe learn to wash glassware for a few weeks and then how to collect some data and then maybe at some point get to analyze data. They are involved in every aspect of this company, from designing experiments to troubleshooting instrumentation to we've got an investor coming next week that needs a presentation. Can you put something together? And we get to sit down at the round table, meeting with people that are putting money into these small businesses. And that's the kind of experience that you can't really give them at a 2-year school or at a 4-year school. You can only really do that with a startup. I can also tell you that, at least from what my program officer tells me at NSF, pretty much anybody that applies for one of those supplemental awards, if you have a halfway decent proposal, you're almost slam dunk to get funded because they have more money than they have applicants. So unless there's glaring problems with your supplemental award, or unless the SBIR company is failing in their major project, they're almost guaranteed to get that supplemental as long as they've got a good plan. And I think even if your plan had Swiss cheese holes in it, they'd probably work with you to fill in the gaps just because they would like to encourage more of these types of projects. So those are just a few ideas and a little bit of my experiences, and thank you for your attention.
Well, is there any questions or discussion from our esteemed panelists? It's interesting from a trustee perspective because, we're always interested in the bottom line of money and completion and all that. I bet you lots of your boards don't know. I mean, I'm just guessing because, our attention span is limited because of the time we're out there. But I think they'd be impressed with what you're doing. I mean, from a decision maker standpoint. Because you're really making those partnerships, getting in there and placing students. And from a national perspective, trustees, we're getting pressure now on the completion of them. In other words, nationally we're looking at how many things, how many students are graduating and getting a certificate or a diploma or whatever. And you're illustrating success. I think they need to be more of this. So just from a policy standpoint, make sure we get some of the trustees. Any thoughts?
I'm interested, Ellen, from your perspective, you've been watching national interest and disinterest in community colleges for at least a couple of decades. What do you see as the trends at this point, and where do you see the sort of the opportunities coming?
Well, obviously, I would say water is an area that we see great movement in, but I think more stackable credentials, something that's more nationally recognized, something that's transferable. You could get a degree or a certificate at one community college and move. What does that mean? So I think we need to work towards getting more recognized credentials so that you can move anywhere in the country and someone understands what it is that you have, and that's the exact same thing as you get someplace else. So, and more shorter term. We have more and more students that want to pick up a couple things here and a couple things there that add to their portfolio. I think a lot more online. I was listening to Deb talk earlier before, and she said anything I offer online gets filled up. Well, there's a certain amount of hands-on that you have to have in many of these, so you have to have a hybrid type. But I think with the, so many of our students are working full-time, you need to have a flexible format for them to be able to take classes and work and do family. So I think online, I think nationally recognized certifications, and they need to be stackable. I don't know, Ken, do you have any other thoughts on that?
Yeah, I think one of the trends that you'll probably see developing over the next few years is just how do we measure success at the 2-year colleges? Because traditionally it's been how many people come out with an associate degree. And it's not a very accurate measure of the success of our students. Particularly like that student Dave that I mentioned, that was employee number 3. He got hired there. They were willing to give him a full-time job while he was still in his first year at the 2-year college. And I had to really spend a lot of time convincing him that it was in his interest to not only finish his 2-year degree, but to go to the university and get his 4-year degree in chemistry. Now he's happy because they hired him full-time afterwards as a scientist, and he's making way more money than if he'd taken a job as a technician.
Well, and that's where community colleges are going to work really well with business and industry. We need to continue to do that So in Iowa, we have a very low unemployment rate right now. So you've seen a lot of the numbers at our colleges go down. But we need to make sure that business and industry knows that we can have programs available for their workers so that they can continue to work and move forward in their education and training.
And you guys do it much faster than universities, though we do some of that. I mean, but you have the workforce development talent built in already, but you go to your local employers and react and give them what they need on a very quick basis. So you guys, you have your ground of the year too. I mean, four-year institutions, we serve such a broader market, but at a local level, you guys know what's going on, and that's what I think is the most valuable.
So that's the other statistic I didn't share is that 90% of the students on our campus are working while they're attending college, which is really different than the undergrad.
Yeah.
That's local district too.
That's right.
So you're a big impact on the local economy.
I think another item that's very good is the fact you're giving either certificates or completions or something so that they can actually go work and do things. Whereas many of the four-year colleges graduate somebody and say, okay, you graduated. Whereas it appears from the various other speakers also that you're very focused, you're very oriented, and these students know that, but also employers know that. To me, that's a critical item. We can buy PhDs, they're a dime a dozen, but can you buy good, solid workers that are focused?
Well, and I'm sure it's not unique to our college, but a lot of community college gets four-year grads that come back that need to get hands-on skills, short-term certificates to add to what they have, because as Ken said, they don't know what a tool is. They don't know how to do anything. So, yeah, we see a lot of those individuals that coming back and they can't get a job after their four-year degree, how to give us some skills that we can use to get in and get a job.
And you will see it in the workplace too, where there's that communication disconnect oftentimes between the engineers and the fabricators, where they can draw it on paper and it looks brilliant, but then they talk to the machinist and says this can't be built, sort of thing. And that is a disconnect where for a lot of our engineers, they don't have that hands-on experience when they're growing up. When I was in high school, my engineering program, we took machine shop, we took metal shop, and we took drafting, where you learned how to draw, by hand, and you had to be able to do isometrics and visualize in 3D. You don't get that anymore in high school, for sure.
Well, and I would say another area that's growing, that's going to continue to grow, is we have more and more underprepared students coming to us, and we have to find a way to move them through the system successfully. So you'll see we do a lot more in the contextualized math area. A lot of students have math phobia, and if we can tie it to something that they're doing, that they understand, we can keep them and get them to be successful in that so they can move on. But it's amazing how underprepared the numbers of students
How
are.
do you teach your communications? Do you have, during the courses, they have opportunities to present and to critique, or how do you teach communications? If they know how to do it and can't communicate, that's difficult also. But how do you do that?
You can have separate classes. Of course, some of our gen ed portions that you have speech, but I think what you're seeing is more and more in your courses, that's part of, teamwork's part of it. Oral and written communication is part of it. That's integrated into many, many of the courses.
Yeah, I teach a intro engineering course, all our freshman engineers take at Tech College. And that is it's a project-based course where they're matched up with a client at the start of the semester. They go through a design, and then goal is by the end of the class to put together a prototype, fabricated prototype. So they work as a team all throughout that semester. They're meeting regularly with their client throughout that semester to identify their client's needs, determine the budget, look at the timeline, present their designs to get approval before they can spend money.
And they have to talk to them, they can't text them, right?
That's right, yeah, they have to talk to them, they have to arrange meetings, they invite them to come meet in class, and then at the end of the semester, there's a final presentation for the client. So, it's built right into the course. And we created that course because we were getting a lot of students coming into our engineering and tech programs that didn't have hands-on skills, which for a tech college was a shock, right? Because the tech college traditionally has always gotten the shop kids. now all of a sudden we're getting kids from schools that don't teach shotgun.
And we hear that from our employers, because they'll complain, they don't look at me, they don't dress right, they don't speak, so we are constantly talking with them as part of our advisory committees and as forums that we hold in the community to hear, it's nice to hear what we're doing well, what are we not doing well, where are areas of improvement that we can work on.
Well, one general comment I'll say is I think because I worked 17 years at the University of Florida, so I brought that university experience and I'm administrator at community college. Being relevant is very important. I think where we tend to lose, be that it may be a university or community college, is to fail that relevance because I'm raising two boys, 21 and 19. 21 is doing a double degree at UF right now, computer engineering and computer science, but every once in a while he comes home, I'm like, how are things going? He goes, I don't even know why I'm going through a college. I can write an app and make money. That's the reality of this generation. And I know that, I'm talking about that. Are we then, through the community colleges, keeping ourselves relevant? We have a gentleman from Denver, Colorado, who is now relocating to just about 30 miles south of Tampa Bay area. He has purchased about 120 acres. He wants to start the algae biodiesel farm there. He walked up to us, he says, I want Hillsborough Community College to develop a training program, but you are not going to be dictating the curriculum. I don't. But I know what I want in the people that are going to come. And I don't need them to go to college. I will tell you what, and I said, Benjamin, yes sir, no problem. We can do through our non-credit content course and certification. That's very easy to do. We don't have to work on the state framework for that. And again, that's an area that I just want to acknowledge my co-conspirator here, Alessandra, who is my co-chair of the community college affiliate program at UCSC. We are part of a team, 5 members from community colleges and five from university as part of ACES. We are currently drafting a proposal for NSF. There are 4 areas, 4 challenges between the 2 years and the 4 year, because that building that bridge is such a huge, there was such a gaping hole there. And one is the articulation agreements between 2 years and 4 years. They are as diverse as one can imagine or beyond. The second is gateway courses. The other is of the statistics you shared, 30 million. 5.2 million of that are students who are enrolled in non-credit or continuing education courses. That's a substantial number of students in the United States. Yet, any type of learning they go through, they're currently not receiving credit. And that's a huge question. It still is a good skill set that the businesses and industry looking for, but they're not earning credit for that. And that's also part of what is not defined in the census of the college. That's right. And so all of these initiatives we're trying to address to our consortium of 5 community colleges and 5 universities. So
I think those articulation agreements are really key because I have an adjunct appointment at the University of Wisconsin as well, so I teach there occasionally. My colleagues at the university often ask me, how different is it teaching at a 2-year college? And what I always tell them is, if you look at the best students I have at the 2-year college, they're every bit as good as my best students at the university. The difference at the 2-year college is you have this huge spectrum because we have open enrollment, so you get everybody from all ability levels. But because that articulation pathway historically has been really rough, there's a lot of very talented students at those 2-year colleges that never make it onto the 4-year campus. And we're missing out on a talent pool there that really we can't afford to ignore as a country.
no, and you're right. There are some schools who do desire to go to student or even graduate students.
Yeah, yesterday when I was driving here, I was on the phone with one of our Regents universities, and they are funding a transfer advisor specifically for their institution to be housed on our campus. And so we're seeing an increase in the 4-year wanting to do more articulation for us, but that's basically because our numbers are dwindling. Iowa's not really growing in population, so they are hungrier and hungrier for our students. So economics kind of rules the day. And so, good for us and good for our students that they're more willing to sit at the table and develop those agreements because they need the students.
And I wanted to add one more comment how these models are changing. I have actually brought an example, a student with whom you were talking yesterday from the University of Tampa, David Verstocki, who finished a 4-year program in accounting there, only to realize graduates at the end of the June, I don't know what I'm going to do with this other than going to train for a CPA, which is not what he was finding. Last year he was a speaker at the conference that was called Beyond Sustainability. And they're working in an aquaponic model. My conference was about social entrepreneurship. And I always appreciated his leadership, but he returned back after June, and HCC Sustainability has developed a new model of promoting experiential learning and internships. We have a network of 73 individuals from companies or organizations within Tampa Bay area that are looking for people to whom they want to teach green practices, or just, anything along the model of sustainability. So we began, and David's my third student. And all the 3 students have come to us from 2 from USF, University of South Florida, and now from University of Tampa. These are 4-year colleges. They are now coming back to a community college to see how some of what they have, acquired through theoretical basis, how can they apply, and they find that platform to our, institution. I think that's it.
Well, we're nearly to that. Do you want to add anything or give a 5-minute plug for what's going on with IGEN?
No. No, I did a slideshow at the session earlier, so I think that you guys, I was running late at my slide session. I'm sure you probably don't want to hear more, but if you want to, everyone should feel free to definitely give me a call. And I did enjoy your presentations very, very much. Saw most of yours. It's good.
Well, definitely appreciate everybody coming. Hopefully we just open the door for more with NCSC to reach out to the community colleges, because I'm convinced we've got a lot of value and things to add to higher ed in our country as well. So appreciate it, everybody. Have a second.
Yeah, thank you.